that the NFC East division race comes down to the last game of the regular season. We've got our full slate of experts to get into that one for you, but we start with Big Ben and the news out of Pittsburgh. Here's Aditi Kinkabwala with more.
Tomlin announced on Tuesday that starting quarterback Ben Roethlisberger will indeed get Week 17 off when the rest of the Steelers travel to Cleveland. Tomlin said with the Chiefs having already locked up the AFC's one bye and the Steelers never getting a proper bye weekend all season, it was more important for Roethlisberger to get the weekend off. He said he wasn't concerned about any momentum carrying over from a good second half against the Colts Sunday, the one that stemmed the Steelers' 3-game losing streak. He said just about all the other players would be playing, and it's up to them to maintain that rhythm. And as for Rudolph, well, of course, it's hard to forget that his last trip to Cleveland ended with Myles Garrett taking a helmet to his head. But before we talk about any of that, let's not forget Rudolph's performance in Cleveland. 4 sacks, 4 interceptions, and a big loss.
All right, so here's the Browns' clinching scenario. Cleveland clinches a playoff berth with a win versus the Steelers, or a Colts loss to the Jaguars, or a Titans loss, plus Dolphins and Ravens victories. All right, let's welcome in our Hall of Fame and Super Bowl winning backfield here, LaDainian Tomlinson and Michael Robinson with me now. Guys, Steelers are sitting Big Ben. Mason Rudolph will get the start there. Mark Tomlin said, though, other guys will probably get reduced snaps as well. So, Emrob, let's start with you here. What is the game plan with no Ben Roethlisberger under center?
Well, you know what, MJ, I don't think it matters who's under center. Whoever's under center should be able to hand the ball off. This team needs to be able to run the football. They only average about 85 rushing yards per game. I can't remember in recent memory a Pittsburgh Steelers team not running the football for 100 yards, or at least not averaging rushing the football for 100 yards. And then you look at their top 2 backs. When you look at James Conner and Benny Snell, James Conner, you would think that him coming back would help this run game, and it really didn't. He only had 20 yards rushing the football last week against Indy. I mean, the game plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers seemed to be quick, short passes. I don't think that's going to change with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. But regardless of who is at quarterback going forward and into the playoffs, if the Pittsburgh Steelers want to be eventually hoisting the Lombardi Trophy, they're going to have to find a way to run the football. And I'm not going to put this all on just the offensive line. Those running backs and the play caller, you got to be held accountable as well.
And Mike Tomlin saying football is our game. It doesn't matter who the starter is. It kind of matters a little bit, though, right? LT, what impact will this have on the Browns' game plan, though? Give us a few keys here to victory for Cleveland.
Yeah, if I'm the Browns, particularly on defense, I'm crowding the line of scrimmage. I know that the Steelers are going to try to run the football, but they haven't been successful all year running the football, so I'm not really worrying about them running the football. Like I said, I'm going to crowd the line of scrimmage. Myles Garrett has to be dominant as he was the last time he played against Mason Rudolph. You heard about the 4 sacks, 4 interceptions, and all those things. Get pressure on Mason Rudolph. You know he's not going to throw the ball down the field, and they will be okay on defense. In terms of offense, they have to run the football like Emrod was saying the Steelers have to do. That's their MO. The Cleveland Browns love the interior run game. Nick Chubb running up the middle is what they major in on this football team. And the Steelers have struggled on defense with interior runs. So this matchup is perfect for Cleveland at this particular time. They should be able to run the football and have a nice day doing so. That way they can set up Baker Mayfield for the play-action game.
There you go. You just threw me an alley-oop. The play-action game. I don't necessarily believe the Cleveland Browns can win strictly off Baker Mayfield's arm, but when they're running the football with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and he's able to play-action pass off of that, I'm telling you, that guy looks like an elite quarterback when he's able to do the play-action pass.
That's a big caveat there. A nice little asterisk you're adding there to that notion, Emrah. But guys, when we go back to Mason Rudolph, by the way, we heard Aditi talk about his performance in that game last season. Here's what his stats look like as a starter, though, in his career. It's 5-3 with 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. All of those stats coming from the 2019 season. All right, guys, thank you. Let's take a look at the AFC playoff picture. Cleveland, as you can see there, the 7th seed, trying to make it to the post for the first time in nearly 2 decades. Quite a task for them. But let's switch over to the NFC North for a look at our Total Access Game of the Week. Let's go.
The NFL's oldest rivalry, Packers and Bears. Those two cities don't like each other.
He said, Vince, I just want you to know you better have your team ready because we're going to kick your ass.
Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing. Either you're first or you're last.
We're going to be here all day, baby. I like this kind of party.
In the water again. Right to the outside of the 40. To the 45, the 50.
He's going to have to throw in the end zone.
Hand off to Perry. Crushes the right side.
Favre keeps it over the middle of the end zone. Diving grab.
You could have a complete losing season, but if you beat the Bears, that was your season.
We're going to separate the men from the boys. We're going to find out who really wants to play this game and who does not.
Okay, seriously, for all of you at home, just don't put your pen and paper down. The entire show. Here are the clinching scenarios for our game of the week. So the Packers can clinch a first-round bye and home field advantage with a win or with a Seahawks loss. Green Bay has already clinched that NFC North title. The Bears can clinch a playoff berth with a win or a Cardinals loss. So Sean O'Hara and D'Angelo Hall, come on in, guys. Let's unpack this Packers-Bears game. And what it means really for Chicago is what I want to focus on here for you guys. D Hall, how do the Bears beat the Packers and lock up that 7th seed in the NFC?
Oh, MJ, it's going to be tough. The Chicago Bears have been playing really good as of late. Just think about Mitchell Trubisky, the way he's able to now get outside of the pocket and make plays for that Bears offense using his legs. It seems like him and Matt Nagy are starting to figure some things out, and hopefully it's not too late. He's not under contract next year. Don't know what they're going to do with his fifth-year option, but he's going to make things very interesting. But when you think about the way that the Green Bay Packers are playing football, I mean, those dudes are humming. You see what they did last week facing Tennessee Titans? I mean, they just had it all working right there. Aaron Rodgers is probably the MVP, and I wanted their defense to show up and be physical, and they were. And so when I think about what Green Bay is going to bring to the football field, I just think it's going to be a little bit too much for the Chicago Bears in this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Bears are riding high, right? 3 straight victories. Offensively, Mitch Trubisky looks great. Jimmy Graham, had a monster day against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But don't fool yourself. This Green Bay Packers defense is completely different than the Jaguars defense that they just faced. And when you look at what this Packers defense did against Derrick Henry and the Titans last week in the snow, look, they held Derrick Henry to 31 yards rushing in the first half alone. They clamped down. All right, this was not the same run defense we saw in the playoffs last year and towards the end of the year against the 49ers get run out of the building. They locked him up, and Derrick Henry, he was on a 10-game road streak of over 100 yards. So their defense played much more physical, much more impressive. Mitch Trubisky, no doubt they're going to try to move the pocket, get him away from Zadarius Smith. But the one thing, Mitch, I'm going to tell you right now, don't even look at Jair Alexander's way, all right? AKA John Money. Don't you dare throw the ball his direction. Don't look his direction. Go to the other side of the field when you see him. And, of course, the big story really for the Bears has been their run game. So I just talked about the run defense for the Packers, MJ. If Mitch Trubisky and the Bears want a chance to take down the Cal Golden Bear, Aaron Rodgers, they're going to need to run the football. David Montgomery has been a monster, and he's averaged 22 carries a game and 118 yards a game and during that 3-game win streak. So that's going to be key.
Guys, you know what's crazy here, though? With a playoff berth, this 2020 Bears team would be the first team in franchise history to make the playoffs despite having a 6-game losing streak in the regular season. That is wild. But here's the thing, though. The guy leading on the other side, as you guys so eloquently mentioned, is Aaron Rodgers. So let's get to some next-gen stats powered by AWS. And according to Next Gen, Aaron Rodgers has been effective when going up against 4 or fewer pass rushers this season. He's ranked first in touchdown to interception ratio and passer rating. He also has the 3rd best completion percentage in the league in this metric. So for the purposes of this game, the Bears have blitzed on 21.5% of dropbacks this season. That is the 5th lowest in the NFL. All right, let's get to some other news here. The Washington football team released Dwayne Haskins on Monday. It was a tumultuous 2 seasons for the former first-round pick. Here's Ron Rivera on why the team released Haskins.
Well, I just think, with all the distractions, all things that had happened, it was time. And I just felt strongly enough about it that I went ahead and did it. I informed our owner that night and just said, hey, look, this is what I'm going to do. And he was very supportive of it, which was good for me. And, it was just, I just felt I had to do it based on everything. To me, the young man, needs a fresh start. So hopefully he does get the opportunity, which I think he will because of his arm. He's got a very good arm, and hopefully going through these tough times will help him mature.
Mike Garafolo joins us now. We just heard Ron there following Dwayne Haskins' release. Has there been any movement or interest from other teams at this point, Mike?
Not on the waiver wire, MJ, but that's not a surprise because teams would have had to assume the 4.4-ish million left on Haskins' contract over the next 2 years, fully guaranteed. So now he becomes a free agent, and now teams can sign him at a much lower number. And you heard Ron Rivera talk about Haskins' arm strength. There's a lot of ability here. That's what got him drafted in the first round. What got him cut is he didn't really do the things that he needed to do to be successful in the NFL.